¿Qué la hay, Corillo? Welcome, people. Yes, we are back with the documentary. Yes. Now, before, I know. We left you in episode number 7 of Monsters, the Menendez Brothers. I have been trying to edit that video with my life. I have uploaded it like 3 times. I really don't know what's going on with it. It's the audio. It doesn't want to separate from our voices. And if I cut it, it's going to cut like 30 minutes of it. So I have to figure out how I can do that before I post it. But yes, we are starting this O.J. Simpson one.
Well, the long story short is that every time you upload the video, it gets blocked. It's not about copyright or monetization. You just get blocked.
At this point, I'm over it because you guys have been waiting for this for months.
Yeah.
And I feel embarrassed to say it like that. But if we didn't even monetize it, I would have been like, you know what, screw it. Like, I just want to let it be. But it's completely blocked. It doesn't let me do anything with it. So I have to erase it, edit it, and it's an hour-long video. So let's see if O.J. Simpson doesn't give me the same bull crap. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and watch American Manhunt. This is the O.J. Simpson. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if they're going to try and portray it type of like they did with Monsters, or if this is actually like an actual documentary. We're gonna learn just like you. If you haven't watched it, welcome.
It's probably a little bit different because it's not the same, producer and stuff. But I mean, at least I don't know much about O.J. Simpson besides the main story, but I don't know details about the story.
What do you know about it?
Basically, he killed his girlfriend, or was it wife or girlfriend?
I believe it was fiance. I think.
So,
again, I don't know anything either. This is by the time that the Menendez brothers, maybe like a year or two after I believe, because we saw that he was incarcerated right next to him.
He took the media out of the Menendez brothers,
And then I think, and this is just, we're speculating before we begin to see if we can cross-reference what we learn, Robert Kardashian was one of his lawyers. That's how he gained conocimiento.
Okay.
So this is the second crime show, documentary, whatever you guys want to call it, that we're going to do. This is something that we want to continue doing, mostly in English, because they are in English. Welcome to our channel. If you've never been here, we usually do anime. We have Game of Thrones. We have a Patreon where we have everything over there. We kind of like doing this part Spanglish. So I'm going to switch over to Spanish a little bit so our Spanish followers can understand what we're saying, because we are going to put the subtitles in Spanish and then the audio in English. So just if you want to skip forward this part, you can do so. Alexandra.
Bueno, querido, venimos con American Manhunt. Esta es la serie, el documental de O.J. Simpson. Básicamente relatando los hechos de cómo pasaron y recapitularizando todo. So, vamos a ver, yo no sé mucho de la historia, solamente sé lo que hizo y que creo que salió free de esto.
Sí.
Pero nada, aquí vamos a conocer los detalles, los ins and outs, so vamos a darle.
Como ustedes saben, vamos a hacer el audio en inglés. Esto es lo mismo que Monsters, el audio en inglés y los subtítulos en español. Y pues cada vez que tiremos un comentario, pues yo trato de decirlo en inglés para las personas que nos siguen en inglés y Alex se tira el español.
Spanish.
¿Viste? Estamos aquí para ustedes. Vamos allá.
Let's go.
Courthouse.
This is a day we have all waited.
Okay, dato curioso para los que are Spanish people. Who was O.J. Simpson?
O.J. Simpson era un jugador de fútbol americano,
He was a football player.
For more than
Only
a year.
detail we know, I think.
The verdict is in.
There is no doubt that this will go down in history.
I remember my wife came up along
30
my
years
right
later,
side,
talking about it,
and she looked at me and she goes, they're going to blame this all on you. 30 years later, it's a monster, and it keeps devouring everything in its path.
It says if it doesn't fit, then you must acquit.
Our case was Hollywood. It had anything and everything Hollywood could want.
14 units now converged on this location.
You had celebrity.
Okay, anything you can tell.
Money.
He was running away?
I believe so.
You had race.
The cover-up continues.
And then, of course, there was murder.
Our search is for the truth to determine who is responsible.
You hear all of this talk about the search for truth. I wonder whose truth are we talking about?
I was raised to trust the process, but I don't think justice truly exists when your loved one is brutally murdered.
Now let's go to the courtroom. The moment has arrived.
Who's nervous? Is anybody nervous yet?
All right, Deputy Trower, let's have the jurors, please.
Outrageous.
Mr. Simpson, would you please stand and face the jury?
I believe justice can be different things to different people.
Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles, in the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA097211. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson.
I'm really curious about how much they had against him.
Yeah.
For him to get out of it. And because the thing is that people actually like celebrate when he was innocent. So I want to see how much there was against him to see like why they were so happy.
Okay, so ahora lo que dice es que quiere ver qué tanta evidencia tenían en contra de él, porque hubo muchas personas que se alegraron cuando él salió.
Sí, celebraron en la calle, lo van a ver aquí seguramente, que la gente estaban en la calle celebrando una cosa ridícula, tipo...
Sí, como si hubiera ganado un Super Bowl.
Sí, sí.
At 10 o'clock that evening, I was watching the news in the master bedroom on the 3rd floor with my wife.
Life in Southern California means living on the fault line.
I became aware of a barking.
And all of a sudden I heard two voices.
Well, the first one I heard was a clear male young adult voice that said, "Hey, hey, hey."
I watched the Dick Van Dyke Show, and that ended at just prior to 10:30.
Oh, honey, this isn't right. I look like a strangler.
Shortly after the end of the Dick Van Dyke Show, I walked my dog. I saw that there was a dog at the corner of Dorothy and Bundy. I figured that this was a lost dog.
Stephen Schwab had a dog. He said he had found. We decided that we would take the dog for a walk and maybe it will know its way home.
It took us down to Bundy.
I was looking at the paws and the legs. It was a white dog and it had what I thought was brown mud on it.
And suddenly want to go to the other side of the road, and the other side is stopped and
no me diga que era sangre lo que
at the walkway.
So I looked in the direction where the dog is. I remember blood coming down the walkway, but I looked away very quickly. And we said, you have to call 911. There's a dead body.
Oh, wow.
That picture, I have seen it. Esa foto sí.
Really? That was like right at the steps of the house.
Oh, wait till you... it starts coming back. Me empiezo a recordar poquito. Pero yo pienso que... I think they even had kids together. I don't know.
1994, I was working as a D2, that's a detective sergeant, in homicide in West LA Division. I had 19 years on the job.
Detective Mark Furman.
LAPD Detective Mark Furman.
What do you believe happened that night?
Well, I wasn't supposed to be to work on Monday. So I get home at 1:05, the phone in the kitchen rings. We've got a homicide on Bundy and Brentwood. And I said, well, I'm not on call. And he goes, yeah, I know, but I want you to handle this. Okay, I'm on my way. Good cop in my eyes is somebody that's highly perceptive of the environment they're in. As far as a detective, you have to be organized. Organized in your head and organized in your task. I get to 875 Bundy at about 2:10. We contact Officer Risky. The uniformed officer was the first officer at the scene. So he briefs us.
And we observed a female white in a black dress laying in a puddle of blood on the walkway.
Is this a real picture?
Mm-hmm.
It looked like she had lighter hair, but it was all mixed with blood. And I saw something in the bushes.
Another body?
Okay, yeah.
There was a male, another victim, a few feet from her that was on his back, could not tell the cause of death. We really didn't know if we had a shooting incident, edged weapon, blunt force. We really didn't know exactly what took place there. There's a detachment that you have. You have a job to do. The shock of these two poor people being killed and left on the sidewalk really doesn't enter right then. About 2:30, my partner, Brad Roberts, shows up at the scene.
Took me out and showed me where the victims were at. We looked at the bodies laying on the ground, blood running out of her head, going down the side.
If you think about it, I'm sorry I have to pause it here. I'll put something over it. But look at all the, like, parece que we're not seeing it, but it's like like this.
Sí, it's slanted.
And it's slanted, so the blood is like corriendo.
Running, yeah,
Sí, la sangre está como corriendo. That's crazy.
Hay un montón de sangre.
Officer Risky, when he walked us through, he pointed out a dark colored stocking cap and a glove. From that first observation, it looked like one glove. It looked like a leather glove. It looked like it was fairly large.
We looked at all the blood evidence and some footprints. Seemed like the suspect running away down the walkway towards the back gate where they fled.
So they have a shoe print. So tienen un zapato a que comparar.
Y un guante.
Y un guante. Que entiendo, por lo show que he visto, if you turn it inside out, you can dust for prints.
For prints?
Yeah.
No, for prints.
If you have gloves, like if you turn it inside out, I've watched a bunch of...
That's a leather glove. Maybe a
plastic one.
Latex or something, yes.
Yeah, true.
Some blood drops that have been dropped on the gate.
But DNA at least, right?
Roberts goes,
like sweat
well, there's a bloody fingerprint on the turnstile.
Beautiful, bloody imposed fingerprint on a brass turnstile, which opened the gate in the back.
And I go, no shit. That, of course, went in my notes.
What?
Brass turnstile, which opened the gate in the back.
And I go, no shit.
The bloody fingerprint was never collected as evidence.
But he knew about it? How?
Well, this is 30 years later, mi vida. They're giving all the evidence.
Okay, but so for us to know, that means they knew about it at the moment, right? They found the print.
We have to keep watching. Hay que seguir viendo.
Wow.
Dilo en español.
O sea, nosotros sabemos ahora de la huella y obviamente para ellos saber que había una huella ahí que no se tomó como evidencia, significa que ellos encontraron la huella, solamente que no se tomó como evidencia.
Sí,
¿Cómo
pero
tú dejas pasarla?
You have to remember, and here we go again, we do this a lot. Sorry, we pause it. We just like overanalyzing things. If you have, remember, you don't think the same way I do. So I could be that detective that's like, okay, so her body's there. The print is right on top of her. I'm not saying it is, but it's probably her print. Pap, sigo andando. But you're like, wait, that could be, you don't know.
No. The print was on the way out, like the little gate to the sidewalk. That's what I understood.
So I have to shut up and we have to keep going.
But for what you're saying is basically I can see maybe like two different detectives at the scene, and they be like, oh, obviously somebody's gonna get that, or maybe they relate to each other and it was missing the communication.
Sí. Sí, el punto fue que no cogieron eso de evidencia y estamos diciendo como que espérate, pero entonces a lo mejor es que yo veo las cosas de cierta manera, el detective Alex lo ve de otra y es como que, pues a lo mejor, obvio, él ya lo cogió, so yo no lo tengo que coger.
Exacto.
So miscommunication, maybe, I don't know.
That, of course, went in my notes. It's got to be forensically collected and photographed at the location.
It looked to be blood smudge on that, leading to what I saw might be a possible fingerprint or a partial fingerprint.
So
I was trying to take in everything I could. We went to the rear of the house. The garage was open. We walked into the residence. There was 2 children upstairs.
Oh, wow.
They had been taken to West LA Station. We
old?
have 2 victims. We don't know the cause of death. I had no idea how these 2 people fit together yet. But she had no shoes on. He had shoes on. I'm starting to kind of connect up that the woman that had no shoes on was probably in the house. At that point, Officer Risky walked back inside and saw something.
Right by the front door, there was a letter. Had an O.J. Simpson as a return address.
This is Nicole Brown Simpson's house. She's the ex-wife of O.J. Simpson.
Ex-wife.
Okay.
We were both wrong.
I
He's a
know.
girlfriend,
That's a
fiance, wife. Okay, ex-wife, la ex-esposa.
This is going to be a media event.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson. He was, by some accounts, the most popular player ever to glide across football's gridiron, winning the Heisman Trophy.
You got to work to be successful, and I don't consider that a sacrifice. I wanted the ball.
He has 2,000 yards. O.J. Simpson has broken what seemed to be an insurmountable barrier.
Well, producers come to me and ask me if I can act. I said, sure, I could try to act.
O.J. Simpson.
His image is almost the same as mine. What is driving O.J. Simpson? That need to be liked. When I walk down the street, I want people to know me. That's O.J. Simpson.
Ladies and gentlemen, O.J. Simpson.
You know, it's funny. All my life, everything I've ever really wanted, I've been able to get.
Oh, I didn't know he was such a big name inside the sport. I mean, if the sport, yeah.
Okay.
Like, you know, he made history. I mean, he broke records and stuff. I thought that just because he played, he was already like a media case.
Yeah, like Aaron, like the whole. Well,
Exacto. I don't know about him neither, but he was like at his age or his era.
Aaron Rodriguez, you go get
Hernandez.
Hernandez.
You
confuse me now.
I
I think it's Hernandez.
Because sometimes I think about the kid too, that he has a similar name. I think it's Hernandez, yeah. Pero
Gabriel. Oh yeah, I
Gabriel
see what you're
Hernandez,
saying.
exacto.
Okay.
So he was big on his era, like he made records and stuff. So
I was driving to a market called Westward Ho in Brentwood.
This witness, who does not want her real name used,
Tell us about that Sunday night.
As I'm approaching Bundy, a car did run the red light. The white SUV went up onto the center median part.
Okay.
So the Bronco went up on the median and stopped.
It had to stop because it was blocked by the other car. The driver gave me a really mean look, gave me a look. Like I had done something to him. You know, like he was really angry, like it was my fault or something. I recognized him as a football player. He was just screaming and freaking out. Get the car out of here. Get the hell out. Move, move. Then I recognized his voice because I had just seen a movie with this guy in it. It was a Naked Gun movie.
Police, throw down your guns.
I recognized the voice as being O.J. Simpson.
Okay, I'm sorry to keep pausing this. I had no idea he was so big. You said in the football scene. For me, I had no idea he did acting. This changes my perspective at all. I've only watched a couple minutes.
he was an actor.
I mean, but we've heard the stories about. I had no idea.
Me neither. That's what I'm saying.
So this changes my perspective of maybe it got into his head.
The acting?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. I mean, we've seen it with a bunch of people. I mean, yo lo que estoy diciendo es que yo no sabía para nada que él actuaba. Nunca. O sea, nunca.
O sea,
yo pensé que él era un jugador de fútbol famoso.
Famoso, exacto. Pero el punto es que no sabíamos que él era tan grande en el deporte que trascendió a hacer otras cosas.
Exacto.
A hacer películas, a hacer
Sí, tipo Michael Jackson.
Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Exacto.
According to the witness, the traffic altercation with O.J. here happened right around the time of the murders.
O.J. backed off the medium and went around north on Bundy and took off.
So they're giving you all the key
dream
points.
was to become famous.
¿Lo viste?
What do you mean?
Didn't you read it? It said he was never brought in.
Oh, shit, I'm not reading.
Yeah.
Altercation with O.J. here happened right around the time of the murders.
Jill Shively was never called in as a witness. So they're giving you, this is what I'm guessing they're going to do. They're going to give you the key points of everything that they didn't do in the investigation in 1995 in order to, he was guilty. ¿Entiendes? So
Sí,
now,
toda la evidencia que omitieron.
Correct.
Para él salir.
No fingerprint. Now we know they didn't
wow.
put in a fingerprint, and now we know that they never called her as witness. So let's keep going. So el punto es que nunca la llamaron a ella para testificar por ella puso, she's a key witness. Ella fue, yo lo vi. I recognize him because I saw a movie, like ella dio todos estos detalles y no la llamaron. So ya tenemos dos cosas, el dedo, ¿cómo se dice? La huella con la sangre y no la llamaron a ella. Y a
OJ
le
backed
callaron un
off
rato,
the
porque-
medium and went around north on Bundy and took off.
My dream was to become famous.
Please have a seat on the witness stand. The state spell your first and last name for the record.
Brian Cato Kalin, Brian. I became famous for the worst possible reason.
What? Oh.
Within a day or two, the media made me a celebrity, a liar, a freeloader, a assassin's target, everything, because people are so still fascinated with the obsession of a celebrity.
Simpson's infamous house guest.
Cato Kalin. Well, I was actually considering the couch, but I might stay. I came out to California to pursue an acting career. Nicole and I became friends in December 1993. Her friendship meant a lot to me. I think the big thing was that I could be trusted around her kids. Nicole got a puppy. It was an Akita. And the kids were all contemplating, what can we name the dog? What can we name the dog? And they all settled on calling the dog Cato.
Plaintiff wail of Nicole's dog Cato.
Aww,
So there's two Catos now, me and the dog Cato. The relationship of OJ and Nicole, it was like an elevator. It kept going up and down, off and on, off and on, off and on.
My wife, Nicole, who came into my life at what is probably the most difficult time for an athlete at the end of my career. And she turned those years into some of the best years I've had in my life, babes.
When they were in love, they were in love. There was like, oh, you could see this couple's a great couple. And then when they weren't, they were like, this people shouldn't be together. And so it was hard to know where they were at in their relationship. They were divorced. And then they did end up dating again.
Speaking of that lady I was talking about. There she is. With another shot at this tequila.
My opinion was, I think that OJ doesn't like to lose.
So
And he
they
thinks he
divorced
can
and
get
they
it
date
back no
again?
matter what.
There's one thing Nicole was always quite adamant about, was that I was a great father. Even when we were divorced and apart, when she had personal problems, she came to me. I don't think a woman would do that if she felt that this person was insensitive or abusive, and certainly not jealous or possessive.
And I think it just boiled down to that he finally knew that she could actually move on. And I think it devastated him. I was actually searching for a place. And OJ offered me, in the meantime, while I looked for a place, he said, I've got an extra bungalow. You can have the bungalow until you find a place.
Okay. Sold.
So I'm on the phone talking to my friend. I was leaning against the bed. Then all of a sudden, I heard this noise. I heard a thumping noise. Yes, a pounding. And it was sort of like three different noises, three different thumps. And the picture moves. The picture just moved like it was an earthquake. And I said to my friend, I think we just had an earthquake. Did you feel that? And she says, no. And it had to have been caused by something. Next thing you know, I'm hearing this ringing. A ringing coming from an intercom. And I think that's the door to be let into the gate because someone's out there. So I go out of my guest house door and I go down the pathway and there's a limo driver in the limo.
Sir, as of June the 12th, can you tell us where you were employed?
I was employed for Town and Country Limousine. My order was to pick up Mr. Simpson at 360 Rockingham. There is an intercom at the gate, and I was using that intercom to buzz the house. At that time, a white male walked from behind the house area.
That's when I ran out and saw the limo.
He asked me if I felt an earthquake. After that, I saw a figure just about where the driveway starts come into the entranceway of the house 6 foot, 200 pounds, all dark clothing.
Could you tell whether the person was Caucasian or African American?
Black.
Could I ask the court to ask the defendant to stand for a moment, please?
Cabrón.
Is to be the size of the person that you saw
African
enter the
American,
front
black.
entrance of the house at Rockingham?
Yes. I buzzed the intercom a few more times. This time there was an answer, which was Mr. Simpson. He told me that he overslept and he just got out of the shower and he'd be down in a minute.
So OJ at some point came out when the limo driver was there and he was at the door. Didn't talk about anything. He was just rushing to go to the airport. The limo opened up the trunk and I helped put luggage in. And while that's going on, I saw there was another separate bag.
Small duffel bag.
And I started walking towards that bag when OJ says, no, I'll get that. And even back then I was thinking, well, that's kind of strange. Why he didn't want me to get that bag.
Mr. Simpson said, we gotta go. And we drove off.
Okay, when was this?
The date of.
I pulled up to the American Airlines Terminal 5.
My name is Skip Junis. I was at LAX to pick my wife up, and I was parked out in front by where the sky caps usually work. I was the only car there until a limousine pulled up.
Popped the trunk. Mr. Simpson got out.
And that's when O.J. Simpson got out of the limousine.
We started to take bags out of the trunk, and at that time he asked me to go get a sky cap.
He did something that stood out. He had Louis Vuitton luggage, but he was holding this cheap canvas bag. I watched him interact with the sky cap and the limo driver. He did not want them to touch that bag.
He had
so 2 people
one
already.
of the duffel bags kind of strapped over his shoulder.
And I saw him go immediately to the trash can, and he unzipped the bag, and then he would pull something out and put it immediately in the trash can. It looked like there was something long that maybe was wrapped in a cloth.
The murder weapon.
¿Qué dice?
He was never called in
Tampoco
as
fue
a
llamado.
witness.
And then he meandered into the terminal.
And were you aware of where that flight was going to?
I believe Chicago.
Assigned to the Robbery Homicide Division called Homicide Specials. 2 detectives from Robbery Homicide show up. Tom Lang and Phil Van Adder. The scene was cordoned off. The rear alley was cordoned off. That's one of the first things the detectives want to do so that you don't step on evidence.
Did Detective Phillips point anything out to you at that time?
Yes, he did.
What did he point out to you?
He illuminated a white envelope that was lying there on the ground.
¿Qué? Okay.
Slightly open between the 2 bodies, business envelope, appears to have something in it. Later, we find out it was glasses. It was obviously some type of a crime of violence. It looked like probably a knife attack of some type. It was evident that the woman was nearly decapitated. It's obvious that the footwear impressions are going in this direction, leading the scene. It's obvious that the blood tails in conjunction with that. Perhaps the suspect is wounded.
So if he stepped on the blood so much, because he has prints going out, then let's say he parked the Bronco, whatever car he was driving, a block away or something, they should find some type of blood or DNA or something on the truck. Like, Jesus.
On the left side of his or her body. I know we're going to get a size from the footwear impressions. Great import is the fact that 2 children who were sleeping in the house had been removed through the garage by the police. They were at West LA Station. The former husband, Wit 1, the first only witness we may have here, is going to be a major part of this investigation.
It was our intention, myself and my partner, to go up there and meet Mr. Simpson.
Hi, I'm O.J. Simpson.
We need to know him. We need to meet him.
Ultimately, interview him regarding this murder. And we believe that Phillips and Furman may be able to assist us in the handling of the situation. And Detective Phillips had informed us that Detective Furman had been to the location on a prior incident back a number of years.
It was a holiday, and there was a lot of people that were off for a New Year's Eve party. And we walk up the driveway. Nicole is by a Mercedes convertible. The windshield has been smashed, and she's just uncontrollably crying. Simpson is off to the left, and he's holding a baseball bat, and he's got this look on his face like complete rage. And I said to Nicole, look, are you okay? If you want to make a report, I'll take a report. It's the only way I can do something. And she says, no, I'm fine. I said something to her that has come back to me 1,000 times. I said to her, it's your life.
Oh.
Saying,
Oh, y la muchacha estaba casi decapitada.
Nicole? What did he, what they don't
They
know what
haven't, they haven't said yet, but they found her almost decapitated.
Wow.
So, le dio con odio.
and you're going to an ex-husband's house to notify them their ex-wife is dead. With 4 detectives, you do not leave your crime scene. I'm doing some eye rolling, but it's not my case. They left it.
We pull up to Rockingham.
They left the crime scene.
There's a phone.
The other detective?
Se fueron del crime scene y lo dejaron. Because I guess, again, we're dealing with a famous person. Lo más seguro they wanted to be the ones to tell him, like, your wife is deceased.
See, he was saying that they wanted to address him before the media find out.
Está bien, pero
Pero more
he
as
said
a witness.
4. He said 4 of them.
Their ex-wife is dead. With 4 detectives, you do not leave
Why
your
would
crime
4 detectives go to tell him that? Like, ¿por qué los 4 se tienen que ir de la escena? ¿Tú me entiendes?
scene. I'm doing some eye rolling, but it's not my case. They left it.
We pull up to Rockingham. By the
they're
gate, there's a
close.
phone.
Yeah.
We go to the phone. Nobody answers inside.
Vivían
In
cerca.
front of the metal gate, I see a white Bronco parked at the curb, kind of sticking out, like someone pulled in and didn't straighten it out. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, these are huge estates.
So the Bronco was outside.
Everybody has gates.
With the luggage.
I'm walking around the Bronco and I'm shining the light. I'm looking, and I look at the handle and there's these little spots. And I look at it real close.
And he says, I think it might be blood on the door.
I can see it's got that dark brown, reddish with the little edges that are kind of translucent, the way blood just kind of dries. Lang and Ben Adder are talking, Phillips talking. I'm deferring because I'm the junior detective and I'm listening. At a point, I kind of interrupted and I said, look, we just came from a double homicide. We have some unexplained nature to this Bronco. I see what I believe to be blood. This is Simpson's estate. We at least need to get in to make sure somebody isn't dead, dying, injured, something. We need to make contact.
So him as the junior detective.
Exigent circumstances. If you
and
believe
no
in
era
your
ni-
mind there's an emergency, you have an obligation to investigate it.
All we need to do is knock on the door and find out everybody's okay. That's it. How are we going to get in? I just went over the wall, released the hydraulic arm on the gate.
Pero mío. Good job. I
Furman
mean,
opens the gate and the 4 of us go in and go up to the front door and we bang on the front door. No one answers. So we look to the side, which would be the north side. There's a little pathway going to the rear. And we see these bungalows. There's 2 or 3 bungalows there.
Wow.
We go up to the first one and we bang on the door.
This male white opens the door, a little guy, slight build, long blonde hair.
It was 4 detectives from the LAPD.
Okay.
Detective Furman was one of the gentlemen, and he asked me with a flashlight in my face if I did any drugs, anything. I said, no, nothing.
Is Simpson on premises? And he goes, no, he went to Chicago.
Cato says that he went to some meeting and golf outing and that he would be back the following night.
And they asked me who lived in the other bungalow. I explained that Arnell, OJ's daughter from his first marriage, lives there.
Okay.
Van Adder, Lang, and Phillips all take off for that bungalow. We don't know who this guy is. We're not just going to put our backs to this guy. And I just stayed with him.
Arnell comes to the door and I ask her, what's going on in the house? She says, well, I have a key. Okay, so she goes and gets the key. So Phil stays with her, go in the house, looking around. Place is immaculate, no problems. Meanwhile, we know that Simpson's back in Chicago. We need to make a notification. Ron Phillips calls OJ.
A male voice, which I recognize as Mr. Simpson's voice, answered the phone, and I asked him, I said, is this O.J. Simpson? And he stated, yes. Who's this? And I said, this is Detective Phillips from the Los Angeles Police Department. I have some bad news for you.
He didn't tell him how, but he said, your wife has died.
Your ex-wife, Nicole Simpson, has been killed. I think the first words out of his mouth were something to the effect, oh my God, Nicole is killed. Or, oh my God, she's dead. And then he got very upset on the telephone.
We need to get you to come back here. We have the children.
And he stopped and he said, what do you mean you have my children at the police station? And I said, because we had no place else to take them. And at that time he said, well, I'm going to be leaving out of Chicago on the first available flight.
And doesn't ask about what happened or anything else.
Okay. I pick up the phone. Your husband is dead.
No, ex.
Your ex has what? Oh my God, what happened? That's what I would do. How did it happen? Not what he was murdered? She was killed? I don't know. It's just kind of weird for you to say that.
I mean, to me...
How would you...
That,
okay,
I mean, yeah, but to me that doesn't say much because everybody react different to news and bad news or shocking news. Like, it's hard, like, to say, oh, okay, I would have done this or that, you know?
I could defer. Why would you say something that happened instead of asking, like, oh my gosh, what happened? Like, you act like you're going to answer the phone. Veronica, your ex-wife was just killed. What would you say?
What? How?
We had the same reaction. Like, yo lo que estoy diciendo es como que él dijo, cuando lo llamaron, él dijo, la mataron. Está muerta. Como que yo cojo el teléfono y es como que, mataron a tu ex esposo. Espérate, ¿cómo? ¿Qué pasó? Como que empiezo a hacer, yo voy entre shock a preguntar qué pasó, dónde está, qué, y los niños, esto, lo otro, como que I would go like in a spiral, like, where are the kids? Esto que lo otro, where do I need to go? I just got, you know? Yeah. Como que not, oh my God, they killed her.
Not a lot of questions from Simpson. He's never asked, oh, by the way, how are my kids doing? Or how did she die? Who would kill her?
Okay,
we don't get any of that, which just doesn't make any damn sense.
Tenía que haber esperado, me pasó lo mismo que el anime.
I just stayed in this bungalow with Cato. I said, hey, did anything unusual happen last night?
I told him, I don't know if this means anything, but this picture, I showed him the picture, moved on my wall. And I heard this noise. Did we have an earthquake?
What do you mean, earthquake? So I just stopped. I just walk outside and I'm kind of orient myself. Where's Cato's south wall? And just exactly what was he talking about? So then I see I have to go around.
Oh my
and
God.
then I come down this walkway. I'm looking around.
You jumped the fence?
And then I look down. I looked at this object.
Oh.
And it looked like
the other glove.
A glove.
Outrageous.
It's that kind of holy shit moment.
Full.
What?
O sea,
I realized that looks like the same glove that's at Bundy.
No, I'm done.
And
yeah,
said,
but I mean,
how is that? No, how is this not a slam dunk?
It's too easy. At some point, it's like, oh my God, this is too easy. That wait, did they plant all this? Like the little blood on the Bronco, the glove over here, like
no,
they had it too easy. That's what I'm saying. To explain all that is like
we must be missing a bunch of information.
Yeah. Detective Lang, let me show you something
It looks like it's a right-handed glove. So you can kind of see the thumb. We know that it's a left-handed glove at Bundy.
At that moment, this was a crime scene.
We now need to obtain a search warrant before we can search for anything.
And why was it back there? So like
He jumped, like you said, probably.
Conversation.
Phil and I decide, well, all right, Phil is going to go back. He's going to do the search warrant. I'm going to return to the crime scene and start the crime scene investigation.
There's a bunch of discussion, and Van Adder says,
I asked him to go back to the Bundy location to look at the other glove and to make sure that I was seeing what I was seeing.
He goes, go to Bundy, get close to the glove, look at it.
To see if there was a similarity, if we had a right and a left.
I go back to Bundy. There's a photographer that was there.
Detective Phillips instructed me to get a photographer to photograph the glove in its original position, and if I needed to move it to inspect it any further, we could, in other words, photo it as we originally found it.
So I had to figure out how I'm going to step over Nicole, not step in blood, squat down, inspect the glove, and get out without stepping, tripping over, or walking in blood.
Shit, con ese
Somehow,
reguero.
I did it.
Back at Bundy, the press was starting to show up. The word is out. They're already making inquiries. When the sun came up, we got a problem.
I will never forget that day. I got a phone call from the managing editor who said, listen, we have a situation in Brentwood where O.J. Simpson's wife has been murdered. And I remember thinking, well, you don't have murders in Brentwood very often. I made my way down to the crime scene there, and it was quite the scene. The situation just wasn't your run-of-the-mill murder. You knew it involved O.J. Simpson. You knew it was in Brentwood. And those two things right there meant that this was a case very different from anything you'd covered before.
The body of 34-year-old Nicole Brown Simpson, ex-wife of O.J. Simpson, was found after midnight.
She used to be married to former football star O.J. Simpson.
They will not say whether Mr. Simpson is a suspect.
They're setting up cameras, 112 feet, I measured it, across the street on the knoll, looking down on Nicole's body. Cameras that could highlight a human hair at 200 feet. The body is evidence. Everything on the body is evidence. It has to be protected from compromise. First job at a crime scene is to protect the evidence. I'm not going to be able to sit down, whether it's O.J. Simpson or another suspect, and discuss with that person evidence to see if they know something. If I see all of that evidence on the news tonight from one of those cameras, I've lost it. I had an officer go inside and said, I want you to find a clean hospital-type blanket to cover the body.
You couldn't have thought of that before?
You do the last thing that you want to do, and that's notify a family of a death notification. I've done that several times, and it's the worst part of being a cop. She has parents living in Orange County in the South Bay area, the Browns. And I said, I'm sorry to have to tell you that your daughter's been killed. And then I hear this screaming. That MFer, that son of a bitch, he killed her on the phone.
And I said, oh my God, he finally did it.
And he said, who? And of course, I said his name.
The woman screaming is Denise, the older sister of Nicole. It's O.J., it's O.J., I know he did it. That son of a bitch, he's going to do this, that MFer, and all this. It's got to be collected by him in a certain manner. I never worked with Dennis before. I didn't know him. He seemed bright. I don't think he had a lot of experience with high-profile cases.
The nature of the processing by police, there just were a lot of people there. And they're still trying to figure out who the other guy was.
Well, eventually, the second victim was identified as Ron Goldman. It was a young man that's obviously been in some kind of a fight, an altercation, been stabbed several times.
I went home as I normally did after my shift was over at the bank that day, and my boyfriend at the time was home, which was unusual. He looked at me square in the eye and said, you need to call your dad. And I'm like, I'm good. I just walked in the door and he said, you know, you need to call your dad. And then I started thinking that maybe this was Joe's way of luring me into the guest bedroom because he was going to propose to me. So I unsuspectingly went in there. And then when there was no ring, I'm like, well, I guess I'm here. Might as well call my dad. Then my dad picked up and my dad's wife got on the phone and they said, did you see the news today? And I said, no. You didn't see the news? I said, no. Did you see O.J. Simpson? I'm like, what is happening? What are you talking about? And then my dad told me that my brother died. And then I just remember like dropping to my knees and kind of just spiraling at that point. And then the first time that I heard what actually happened to him was a couple hours later in the car. The radio was on and the newscaster said that today Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman were found slaughtered to death in Brentwood, California. It's a vicious cycle because I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. But if I wasn't, my brother wouldn't be part of it. And so I have to, and other victims and survivors, whether they're high profile or not, we have to keep doing this if there is an opportunity for me to educate and to soften you and to remind you that it wasn't just about the killer. My brother was barely 25 years old and lost his entire life because somebody else thought that they had the power to take it.
I can understand her point, like, badly. Like,
my brother and I
you don't want to
were
do, but you feel like
exceptionally
you have to.
close. He was funny. He was gregarious. His energy was infectious. My brother moved to Brentwood, fell in love with the sunshine, the beach, the women, the carefree mentality. He was in his early 20s, just trying to figure out what he wanted to do with his life.
We're not going to spend very much time together, so I'm very glad that I was able to be here and spend this time with you because God knows where I'll be in a year.
We raced to the airport, got on a flight, and I just collapsed into my dad's arms.
We're learning more about the man who was killed right beside Nicole Simpson.
The man who was murdered along with Nicole Simpson was Ron Goldman.
Over time, we found out that the second murder victim was Ron Goldman, a waiter at Mezzaluna, a restaurant not far away.
The Mezzaluna co-workers still say, for all they know, Nicole Simpson and Ronald Goldman is just friends.
My brother and Nicole knew each other from Brentwood. It's a very small bedroom community, so everybody kind of ran in the same circles. They were friends. I don't think I connected why he was there until we learned the information about him returning the glasses. Nicole and her family went for dinner at Mezzaluna.
Nicole's mother, Judith Brown, lost her glasses at the Mezzaluna. She didn't know where, so she called Nicole. Nicole now said she'd phoned the Mezzaluna. So I ran phone records. It was at 9:42. That was the last anybody heard from Nicole. Assistant manager went outside and in the gutter outside finds the prescription glasses. Tells that to Ron Goldman. He says, I know her. I can drop those glasses by the house when I get off here in a little bit.
He was just willing to do whatever he could for anybody.
Literally, verbatim, wrong place, wrong fucking time. Like, ¿qué cojones? O sea, devolviendo.
And so he offered to drop them off.
Governor followed Roberts and I back to Rockingham. So we got back there about 7:30.
It was daylight, and Mark had taken me to the Bronco and showed me the blood smudge that was by the door handle of the car. And I went around to the passenger side, and I looked inside of it. And I said, Mark, get over here and take a look at this. There was blood everywhere inside the Bronco. There was blood on the steering wheel. There was blood on the center console. It was all over the inside of that car.
And then Brad walks to the rear of the vehicle, and he goes, blood drops.
Did he want to get caught? O sea, no entiendo. Él quería que lo cogieran.
Blood drops going through the back of the Bronco, and then all the way up the driveway right to the front door.
This is pissing me off.
And I go, you're shitting me. While we were waiting for the search warrant, I took 2 phone calls. I picked up the first phone call from Ron Ship. He was an officer on LAPD. He was friends with Simpson.
I got a page from my mother. She goes, O.J. Simpson's ex-wife just died.
Ship's a former LAPD cop and was also a longtime friend of O.J. Simpson's. How and when did you first hear about the murders, Ron?
First thing I did, just out of shock, I called the house. And Mark Furman answered the phone, and I knew Mark pretty good. And I said, Mark, is Nicole dead? And he said, yeah. And I said, did O.J. do it?
Ron, I can't tell you. And he goes, come on.
Mark, this is me. I'm trying to be like, hey, cops, buddy. He says, I can't answer that.
How could he?
Right? O.J. Simpson, University of Southern California.
O.J., that O stands for a rental. He runs the 109 Ford, and with a name like a rental, you have to run fast. Thank you, O.J.
That's his real name.
Oronto?
Yeah.
I was 15 years
That's
old
why
when
he
I
goes by
first met
fucking
O.J.
O.J.
Simpson. Being a superhero, being a superstar,
J?
the guy was just like,
Where's the J from?
I was
No sé.
shocked on how nice he was. He wasn't cocky. He was just like real down to earth. Everybody that came around him, you were his best friend. I said, this guy's incredible.
Let me ask you about your childhood. What kind of kid were you?
I was a good kid. I guess I got in trouble a lot. I was aggressive like most kids. I didn't care too much about school. All I wanted to do was play sports. One of the things I wanted most as a kid growing up in the ghetto was not money. It was fame. I wanted to be known. I wanted people to say, hey, there goes, O.J.
Well, I think everybody in the football world, they all knew. He was probably the best, because he was the first guy to ever run for 2,000 yards. But O.J., he started loving the acting.
I think looking good while you're doing something is half the battle. I like clothes with a lot of style and a lot of flair.
The whole country, was all just, taken back by O.J.
You have to maintain a certain image.
Because O.J., he never said no.
So he was the Rock before the Rock.
There was nothing that he couldn't do. O.J. had a lot of white people that loved him, and O.J. had a lot of black people who loved him.
My wife, Mark. I've been called by an agency that worked for Hertz that I was, as far as advertising is concerned, I was colorless. And for the most part, I appreciate that.
And O.J. was just like, hey, I'm just O.J. I love everybody. And he did. It wasn't fake. He loved everybody.
It's an old saying that you're a credit to your race. Well, I want to be a credit to the human race.
O.J. Simpson was a special human being.
That's the good OJ. Some people, not everybody gets to meet the other side of you.
Yeah.
Everybody has the
That's
ugly
what
side.
that's what makes it so hard when something bad happened for the people that knew the good person. They be like that. There's no fucking way.
Behind closed doors. Yeah. Lo que estoy diciendo es que es claro, él era un hombre ejemplar, pero para los que conocían su lado bueno, para los que conocían su lado malo, que es la que está detrás de puerta cerrada, que es su mujer, nadie sabe porque there's a reason why they were on and off.
Exactly.
But I never, in my darkest dreams, had ever thought, and I really didn't believe he would do it.
We get a call that the search warrant's been signed. That means we can start searching.
Criminalist, Dennis, we got another job for you. We need you at Rockingham. Not only do you want a search warrant at this point, probably a good idea to get a prosecutor involved, get the DA's office involved.
2 black socks at the end of the bed.
La ropa sucia, la que se quitó. Bueno, he
I mean,
probably
it's just
threw it away on the airport.
stand out like a pimple on a cheerleader's forehead. They're just right there. At the top of the stairs, there's a row of cabinets. And Brad sees that the one door is open, and there's all these medical supplies that are just ripped open and just left. We walk in the bathroom, we see a box. And it looked like a knife box on the bathtub edge.
In the laundry room downstairs, there was a little smudge
Okay, the box was weird. Like, I mean, what was the box for?
It's a knife.
A what?
A knife box.
Oh, a knife box?
See a box. And it looked like a knife box on the bathtub edge.
In the laundry room downstairs, there was a little smudge of what I believe was blood on the light switch.
You get. I love it how they put that. They're dicks.
In the laundry room downstairs, there was a little smudge of what I believe was blood on the light switch.
O sea, I love their sense of humor.
Black humor.
Yeah.
No, but it's crazy.
Sí,
like,
tampoco se tomó en prueba. Lo adivinaste.
Como si se hubiera corrido for a bunch of rookies. Like, really? All this stuff?
Todo esto, yeah.
There was fresh clothes in the washing machine, still damp.
Nobody documented it, took photographs of it, or anything else because nobody told anybody. No communication.
Okay, pero why?
If you think something is evidence, tell somebody so we can do something. If Brad Roberts or Mark Furman found a knife box or anything else, tell somebody.
Mark handed his notes off to Ron Phillips.
I saw Phillips hand my notes to Van Adder. Van Adder opened up his binder, put him in, closed his binder, tucked it under his arm.
If it's that important, you tell us about it. He should have told somebody about it. We have to wait before we get to your notes.
He did not look at the notes.
But you're all there. Like, you're fucking all there in the house. Like, okay, guys, let's regroup. What did you find? This is a fucking big-ass house.
But for what I understand is that this guy's job is to make notes of everything. He don't collect anything. He just make the notes. And then the other people supposed to collect evidence.
That's stupid as shit.
But like,
hey, guys, I found a knife. Are you looking? Okay. Hey, guys, I found a fucking smudge. Y'all looking? Okay, like, that's the way I would do it. Like, if it's your word against mine, so I'm going to make sure that you're right next to fucking me looking at this shit. Like, yo no voy a dejar ser a los demás a que pase alguien por atrás que, recuerden, high profile case, alguien tiene dinero, a que le pase por el lado, smudge, se vaya.
Exacto.
¿Tú me entiendes?
Exacto.
So, no, tú tienes que... ¿Qué cojones?
That would have caused those blood drops on the left side of the bloody footprints.
Ooh.
How did you get the injury on your hand? I don't know.
They ask him about his bleeding finger. We get 3 different responses.
I know how to take when I was in Chicago. How did you do it in Chicago? I told you that.
In a Chicago hotel room, they later found a towel smeared with blood.
One of you guys was home, and I was in the bathroom. I went boxing for a little bit.
He might have cut it back in Chicago when he broke a glass.
Is that how you cut it?
And then in the end, so I really don't know how he did it.
I recall bleeding at my house, and then I went to the Bronco.
We go through this interview in only 33 minutes. I got a dozen inconsistent statements.
Oh my God, he's trying to put himself, he knows.
I do the whole time. I mean, I'm always, I play golf and stuff. There's always something next and stuff. Get out on that golf course and hit that little white ball.
When someone tells you something, gives you an inconsistent statement, and they do it over and over and over and over, is there a possibility that they're lying to you?
Did Mr. Weissman, your attorney, talk to you about this polygraph? I'm sure eventually I'll do it, but it's like, hey, I got some weird stuff.
I said, would you take a polygraph? Well, I'll think about it. I might take a polygraph.
We've got some blood on and in your car. We got some blood at your house. And sort of problems. Oh, we take no blood.
Well, we like to do that. We've got, of course, a cut on your finger that we aren't really clear on.
He says, yeah, I'll give you blood.
They didn't use that grabación.
Your finger that we aren't really clear on.
He says, yeah, I'll give you blood. Once they get the blood, I don't have to ask him anything. Blood's going to do the talking. District attorney is not going to go with any case, let alone a high-profile case, without knowing they've got solid evidence. But it's going to take some time to get the blood back.
Okay, Simpson, are you a suspect on anything you can say? OJ, are you a suspect?
I'm breaker. Like Simpson, you look like you're really upset about all of this.
The bottom line at this point, says a police spokesman, is this: no one has been arrested in this case. No one has been charged.
Once again, O.J. Simpson is not a suspect in this case. He was released after questioning.
It was clear by the end of the day that O.J. was related to this case more than just being the ex-husband.
Once again, the investigation continues here at O.J. Simpson's home. It looks like it's going to go well into the night. Conan Nolan reporting live from Brentwood.
At the end of the day, I get a phone call. You're relieved.
Okay.
That's it. I'm tired. I haven't slept for a day and a half. I can't imagine the absolute shit show that's going to start tomorrow. But it's not my case any longer. Time to move on.
Wow. But he's the one that saw all the evidence.
I know, but
He's the one
remember
that
they
was
moved the
there.
case to the robo y homicidio. So.
Oh, se movieron el caso para qué?
Robo y homicidio.
It was interesting that 2 days after the murder, O.J. Simpson makes the announcement that he's switched attorneys. He's hired Robert Shapiro.
O.J. Simpson now has a new attorney.
So that was the
2 days later?
Yeah. That was the one that represented the brothers.
Oh, no, that he didn't want to represent, right?
Yeah, exacto. Well, he did, but then he didn't believe them.
Exacto.
Sí, ese fue, yes, he's the one that went through them. Ese fue el que representó a los hermanos y después a los hermanos Menéndez y después se retiró. Dijo, yo no los quiero representar.
Celebrity attorney Robert Shapiro.
Robert Shapiro was a high-end Hollywood and celebrity attorney who was well known for getting deals for his clients. He was somebody you went to if you needed a negotiated settlement.
Y eso es lo que le estaba tratando de hacer con los
At the
Menéndez.
time
Get a deal. No,
that
say they
this
were innocent.
murder took place, O.J. was at home awaiting to get into a limousine to take him to the airport.
Well known, respected, articulate, presented well to the media, which, let's be clear, that was important as well.
Claro.
I knew Bob Shapiro before he represented O.J. Simpson. He was a very popular attorney. He tended to represent defendants who didn't look like most of the defendants in the system. He represented people with money.
Thank you very much.
O.J. Simpson remains inside his home here in this exclusive area and section of Brentwood in West Los Angeles. He is surrounded by family.
When I called the house, I called repeatedly. I just kept, hopefully somebody will answer. Lo and behold, O.J. answers the phone. I said, I'm getting ready to head home. I said, should I stop by? He goes, come on by.
Which gate are you, bro?
I walked in the door. He had 3 TVs and he was watching every news thing to see what they were saying about him.
When you first saw him, what do you remember? What'd you say? What did he say?
The first thing I saw, I looked at his finger, bandage.
What happened?
He just said, I was out in the car trying to get my cell phone out of the, I dropped it in there and I cut it in the seat. I said, oh, okay. All right. No big deal. Okay. So somebody else comes over, hey, OJ, how you doing, man? What's going on? How you doing? He goes, oh, man, I'm hanging in there. And that person goes, OJ, what happened to your finger?
Cambió.
He goes, I cut my finger on a glass in Chicago. So I'm looking at him like, wait, first said you were in the car trying to get a cell phone. I got ready to leave. OJ follows me out. Hey, Ron, how long does it take DNA to come back? And I'm thinking to myself, why would he want to know about DNA? He said that they asked me to take a lie detector test. And I said, why would you not want to take the lie detector test? And he said, I've had dreams of killing her. And I was like, you had dreams of killing her? Here she's dead? And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, wow. Because Nicole came to me in 1989 and she says, I got to tell you about your friend. I go, what do you mean? What's going on? She says, OJ hit me, and I went, and I was like, yeah, right. And she goes, no, OJ hit me. And this is not the first time.
I really couldn't believe what I was hearing, you know.
I said, come on, Nicole. And she brings me all these pictures. And I went, wow. He did all this? The following day, I talked to OJ, and I said, OJ, I said, man, I can't believe this, man. I said, did you slap her? Did you hit her? Oh, no, man. You know, it was just a thing. She was the aggressor, and I was just trying to hold her back. And at that time, I didn't know if OJ was lying to me, but now I knew I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I left OJ's house, and I got in my car.
I'm just very upset and tired right now. I want to get some rest.
And I called my wife first, and I was crying.
Bendito.
He knew?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I was crying because I knew he did it.
That hunch, it don't go away, especially from a friend.
Nicole's funeral. God, the best way I can put that, when I saw OJ there, was just a complete tense situation.
He went to the funeral?
If he doesn't, what do you think they'll say?
Seemed like he was in a
I mean, si él no iba al funeral, ¿qué iban a decir de él?
I know, pero that's Jesus.
No, I mean,
it's crazy.
If you're innocent, that's what you do.
If you're innocent.
And you're guilty, that's what you would do.
True. But your face, though, you have to have like a... ¿Cómo se llama eso?
Poker?
Poker face, o una cara de piedra.
Yeah.
Really slow, and I didn't see him even talking to people.
Going to the funeral, you know, I had friends of mine that were cops, and I got security for OJ. It was really strange, and I really could not go near him at that time.
It just seemed like something wasn't right. The kids came up to me throughout the entire funeral. You know, I had mentioned Mommy's in heaven, and we had these balloons. And I said, the kids, take these balloons and send them up to your mommy to heaven. And they had these helium balloons, and they put the balloons up, and they were waving to them. They weren't crying. I don't think the immediacy of knowing that they'll never see their mom again, it didn't really hit them.
Some 20 miles away in Agoura Hills, California, relatives of Ronald Goldman gathered for his funeral.
I remember being in the mortuary. And the casket was down a long path, and we just walked up to it, and there he was. And my brother had his neck severed, and so they had to hide certain parts so that we couldn't see it. I remember leaning over him, and I was crying, and I saw tears on him and thought that it was him crying, and then I realized that it was my tears. It was all very super fucked up. We had no idea how big this was, how far-reaching it was. We were inside having our service, and then came out, and there were thousands of people that had come. And it was shocking because I had no idea. There were helicopters above, media was perched. I just was very overwhelmed by that because I didn't understand what was happening.
If what few little things we've heard in any way are true about Ron putting up quite a fight, maybe to help, wouldn't surprise me either.
Ay, bendito.
Unlike so many other murder victims, our stuff happened very quickly. It was very public, so there wasn't a lot of question about how the investigation was going. So many other families don't get information at all, and they have to beg and plead for it. Ours, we couldn't stop getting it.
While they have not formally identified O.J. Simpson as a suspect, it appears at this point they are not looking elsewhere.
Excuse us,
you wrapped up your investigation?
No, we haven't. Can you tell us anything at all at this point?
The real damning evidence in this case, it's in the forensics and it's in the blood.
Police towed this white Ford Bronco from O.J. Simpson's home.
There was blood in the Bronco. Somebody put blood on the door handle. We have bloody shoe prints at the scene. We have drops of blood behind the Bronco. We have a bloody glove that matches the one at Bundy. I mean, you really don't have to be a very good detective to put this together.
Gracias.
As soon as detectives can match the blood in the car with blood at the crime scene, an arrest warrant will be issued.
Well, the blood started to come back, and O.J. Simpson has his blood at the crime scene. The blood that was tailing to the left of the footwear impressions is his blood. As far as the Bronco goes and the blood in the Bronco, there's only 3 types of blood from 3 people, both victims, and O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson has his blood at Rockingham tailing from the rear of the Bronco up the driveway and into the house. O.J. Simpson has his blood also on the right-handed glove that's found at Rockingham.
How is this guy innocent?
Victims. Because at that time, we went in and sought the warrant. There's hundreds of pieces of evidence. All of these little circumstantial things are beginning to add up. So it's determined that an arrest will be made the next morning at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Nobody could anticipate what would happen next because it's really unprecedented.
Los Angeles County District Attorney has just filed murder charges against Orenthal James O.J. Simpson.
There is nothing like this in memory. Nothing.
Okay, it's a white car.
¿Se fue a la fuga?
How?
¿Se fue a la fuga?
Why does he has the Bronco though?
¿Verdad? ¿Verdad? They
took it, yeah.
No,
did they say how long it took for the blood to come back?
I don't think they ever took it. I think they left it there and they just grabbed samples.
No, they showed the la grúa llevándosela. Yes,
that's true.
I just said that.
Okay, this is so weird.
It's so intriguing to see how he's getting out of this because I mean I don't see it happening.
Me neither. But obviously he did.
He obviously did.
And he took it to the grave because he died. When was it? You said April.
I think a year ago. Yeah.
Ridiculous. So no sabemos cómo es que este hombre salió inocente y se lo llevó a la tumba porque él se murió el pasado abril. So, no, vamos a ver.
It's crazy.
Let's see next episode. We'll see how I have no idea. Bye.
Chequeamos, María.